Yesenia Taveras. Welcome to La Conexión, the Connection. The Wilmington Police Department has a victim service unit that also offers services in Spanish. I have here with us Carolyn Becker, who's going to tell us the details about this unit. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Gracias.
De nada. So can you tell us a little bit first of how the Wilmington Police Department is reaching out to the Hispanic community?
Sure. Well, besides my position, they have made a concerted effort to go out to the Hispanic community to try to raise interest in becoming a police officer. They put out a lot of information in Spanish and English about what it is like to be a police officer and when the recruitment times are, as well as there's bilingual information now when there are shootings and murders. Flyers are put out bilingually in neighborhoods to make sure all community members have an opportunity to know what's happened in their neighborhood and to respond. And then, of course, my position was established 10 years ago when there was an effort throughout Delaware to have bilingual victim services in the major police agencies. So I've been there 10 years with this program.
¿Y puedes decir en español cómo la policía está ayudando a la comunidad hispana?
Sí, pues la policía de Wilmington empezó un esfuerzo de comunicarse con la comunidad, puso información en inglés y español para que la comunidad sepa más de lo que está pasando en sus vecindarios cuando hay un tiroteo o un asesinato en un vecindario. Ponen diferentes hojas para que la gente estén informados de qué ha pasado y cómo compartir cualquier información que tiene sobre el incidente.
And Carolyn, this is wonderful that the Wilmington Police Department actually has this vehicle for Hispanics to go to. Can you talk about the actual services that are provided through the Victim Service Unit?
We will keep victims informed about their case. We can be a conduit of information between the police and the detectives and the victim. It's easier sometimes to get a hold of us than it is the officers or the detective because they're busy doing their work. And again, I speak Spanish and many of the detectives and officers don't. I accompany victims, all of us in my office accompany victims to court. There are social workers at court as well, but we also, if we're working intensely with a victim, we may also accompany them so they feel comfortable. We let them know about court dates. We also serve as information and referral to other community agencies because whenever you work with anybody on any level, but certainly as a crime victim, people are very vulnerable and they tell you many things and you find out about the situation in the home, you find out about needs, about economic needs, about educational needs. So we very often are getting people to information that they need, economic resources, as well as mental health counseling. We also provide information about a fund. There's a state fund that assists crime victims. There are a few requirements. They have to be innocent victims of crime and they have to cooperate. But then there's a fund to pay for their medical costs. If they have no insurance, it pays for mental health counseling. Lost wages if they've lost time on their job because of the injury. Again, the compensation fund has its own stipulations, but in general, this is what they assist with. They assist with funeral and burial costs to the families of victims of homicide.
And when we speak of services for victims of crimes, like what type of crimes in particular?
Our office always says victims of violent crimes. Primarily, we assist with victims of violent crimes. So shooting, stabbing, sexual assault, domestic violence, child abuse.
Okay. ¿Y en español qué tipos de servicios ofrecen a la comunidad latina?
Sí, pues ofrecemos en mi oficina ayuda para cualquier víctima de un crimen de violencia. Ofrecemos acompañamiento a la corte si tienen citas en el tribunal, los acompañamos. Si necesitan ayuda de servicios sociales, informamos las víctimas, porque muchas veces las víctimas de crímenes tienen otros asuntos y este incidente causa más problemas en su vida. Y si han perdido tiempo en su trabajo, ya ahora necesitan ayuda con los gastos de la renta, de la comida. Ayudamos en referirlos a diferentes agencias que ayudan con servicios económicos. También ayudamos en referirlos a recursos de servicios de salud mental, para que puedan hablar con un consejera sobre lo que está pasando después del incidente. Causa no solamente heridas físicas, pero heridas mentales y psiquiátricas y emocional. Entonces, ayudamos en dar información de muchos tipos. Además de acompañamos las personas para las citas de corte, informamos las víctimas sobre el sistema de justicia criminal, porque es muy confundido, es muy confuso. Muchas veces no sabemos nada del sistema de justicia criminal hasta que seamos víctimas, y ojalá que no tenemos que pasar por eso.
And this is wonderful that you have these services in Spanish, as Carolyn was explaining about the justice system and having these Spanish-speaking citizens here understanding that. And
Yes.
Carolyn, my next question is, I know this program, the Victim Service Unit, is not new. It's been around for a long, long time.
Correct.
So where was the need of educating the Spanish-speaking citizens here in Delaware? Why was there a need to educate them? What did the Wilmington Police Department see that they wanted to fill this void?
I think the Wilmington Police became very aware that there was a growing Hispanic population. There's always been a good-sized Hispanic population in the city of Wilmington, especially. There was a growing population at the around 2005. Many people came because of the booming construction industry, and they came for jobs that were opening. So I think the police saw an increased number of Spanish-speaking victims that were not getting the services that they needed. No, people could not fully explain what was happening in their case. They couldn't accompany them and explain things, how things would go, how things would proceed in the criminal justice system. So there was a knowledge of a lack, and certainly the woman who founded our Victim Services Unit was well aware of that, Mona Byard, and she made an effort to have this position. There was a grant as well that the Criminal Justice Council, the CJC, put out looking for Spanish-speaking victim service providers.
I was just going to say, since you've been on board, what's the growth that you've seen with this unit?
Tremendous growth. When I came on a grant, and I believe the grant wrote that my goal for the first year would be to work with a minimum of 25 victims, and I worked with about 170 victims, or 180, I think, that first year, and it's just grown. I probably work with 350 victims, new victims every year. I'm still often working with folks from years before in different ways, but probably new victims, about 350 a year.
Oh, that's great, though.
Yeah.
And Carolyn, you're very connected with the Latino community here in Delaware. In regards to providing services for immigrants, how does the Wilmington Police Department go about that?
I think the police department understands very well that communities need to be made safe for families to prosper, for families to feel safe, to do well. When families do well, the community does well. And the Wilmington Police were seeing the numbers of Hispanic victims growing. They understand that if they can get people to cooperate in general, crime victims to cooperate, witnesses to talk about the crime they're seeing, and be willing to say, this is what I saw, this is who I saw do it, or give some information, it will only serve to make the community safer. And I think the Hispanic community understands that, and they have really come forward. I speak to so many people who are very brave and willing to talk about what's going on in their neighborhoods because they want a safe place for their children to grow.
And there are benefits. I mean, a lot of people
Yes.
may have that fear, but can you talk about the benefits if someone
Absolutely.
does decide to cooperate with the Wilmington Police?
Absolutely. Besides creating, hopefully, a safer city and neighborhood for themselves, if there was a visa that was established back in 2000, and I'm not sure the year, but it's been around quite a while, and it's a visa for 4 years for folks who may be here without documentation to be in the United States, but they've been here and they're a crime victim, they're seriously injured, and they cooperate with the police. There is a possibility they are eligible for something called a U visa for crime victims. A T visa is a visa for trafficking victims, and there's a visa for domestic violence victims who are self-applicants called VAWA. But these are visas that may offer a 4-year legal stay in the United States, getting a social security number, being able to get a driver's license, pay taxes, because they have cooperated with the police, which leads to safer communities. I think the government saw this as a good goal and a way to get people to cooperate.
That's wonderful. Well, Carolyn, thank you so much for your time and sharing this valuable information.
Gracias.
And hopefully in the future you can come out again and tell us about any other services that have been added to the Wilmington Police Department.
It would be my pleasure.
Thank you
for having me.
You're welcome. More of La Conexión when we return.
Hey, Mom. I got the job.
You've got the job. Welcome aboard.
I've got a job to do today.
Have a good first day at work, Mom.
Donate to Goodwill. Help provide job training in your community.
Me dieron el trabajo. Sí. El trabajo es suyo.
Hoy tengo un trabajo.
Buena suerte, mamá.
Dona a Goodwill. Ayuda a brindar capacitación laboral en tu comunidad.
Ronaldo Tello knew that there was a need for a Spanish language magazine here in Delaware. So he launched Delaware Hispano, which now publishes about 6,000 free copies throughout the state of Delaware. And the online version, delhispano.com, gets about 2,000 visits a month. I have here with us Ronaldo Tello, who's going to tell us about the magazine, its growth, the awards that you've received. Welcome to the show.
Gracias, Yesenia. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here talking about our Hispano magazine, which is in its 3rd year. And we are very proud about what has been happening, and I'm here to talk about that with you.
Yes. So I've been keeping up. I was able to have you on the show when it first launched.
That's true.
And I've seen you've received many awards, a lot of recognition. Let's start off with discussing the drive for this success. What's behind all of this?
Well, mainly before starting the magazine, and anyone who is in business knows how important it is just to approach your people and ask them what they need and what they want. And that's what we did. We actually had some focus groups at the beginning, and so our Latino community told us we want a kind of colorful magazine. We want articles that are not that long but have a lot of pictures, go to the point, and we want especially to be informed about events, resources in the community. We want to know which businesses and programs want to work with us. So we just took that and make it a reality, and that, I believe, has to do with its success.
¿Y en español puede decir cómo la revista está ayudando a la comunidad latina?
Sí, por supuesto. La revista Delaware Hispano, ahora en su 3er año de existencia, no solamente está tratando de informar a las personas acerca de los eventos, de los recursos que hay en nuestro estado, y dejarles saber de los negocios y de los programas que están trabajando con nuestra comunidad, sino que también estamos envolviéndonos con la comunidad haciendo eventos. De hecho, te voy a hablar de algunos eventos que tenemos planeados durante este año para estar face to face, cara a cara con nuestra comunidad. No solamente la revista es un pedazo de papel, es gente apoyando a gente, aprendiendo y enseñando. Hay una relación allí en los 3 diferentes condados del estado.
That's great. He just mentioned that's throughout all 3 different counties here in Delaware.
That's right.
And so, like I said, it's a great magazine. It's the Spanish language magazines that Latinos go to. I like to highlight that because there's a lot of other magazines, newspapers out here. We do have a couple that are bilingual, but some people tend to forget of the only Spanish-speaking residents that we have here in Delaware.
Exactly.
And you finding that niche market and reaching out to them, it's been showing some growth. And actually, let's talk about that. This magazine has been recognized locally, regionally, and nationally. Can you talk about some of the rewards that magazine has received?
Well, blessings, and we really appreciate that the Delaware Press Association, for the first time, the first place for best MAGA paper was a Spanish-speaking, Spanish in general magazine. Our magazine, Hispano magazine, and then they sent the magazine to the national contest, and guess what? At a national level, we won first place. We were really so happy that day we received our award for not only best MAGA paper, but also for our print advertising series, which is an effort that we do. We of course know that the businesses that contact us and they want to target the Latino community, and they are the ones that pay for the printing of the magazine, so they are very important to us. They want the best way to engage the community, and we have expertise in communications and marketing, and so we really help with that, and we won an award for a series that we created for one of our businesses. And finally, the Hispanic Choice Awards surprise us. They only give, I believe, 6 awards a year or something like that.
I was going to say, the competition is tough.
Yes, it's regional also. The competition is New Jersey, Philadelphia, like big places, but they decided to give us this award, the Trailblazer Award, which means, some company that is opening a path that didn't exist before. And I think what you said, paying attention to the Spanish-speaking community, and also the second generation that wants to be, wants to stay with their culture, and they also want to practice their Spanish. Mm-hmm. They want the magazine. And at this point, I wanted to tell you, you said that we print 6,000, where now we have to print 2,000 more. Oh, and we will start printing 2,000 more in 1 month because of the demand. The places tell us, we run out of magazines quickly. This is a monthly magazine. In 2 weeks, you don't find the magazine in the places where we put them. So we are going to make that effort, and I hope that businesses and programs also keep supporting us, putting their advertisements so we can continue helping the community.
Yes, and the great thing too that you mentioned about Latinos who are born here in the United States and want to learn or continue to stay polished on their Spanish language. I mean, that's a great opportunity because a lot of Spanish a lot of Latinos who don't speak Spanish would like to learn, but those who do speak Spanish sometimes don't know how to write in Spanish.
That's so true.
That's a huge thing. I mean, you'd be amazed how many Latinos you'll run into. We could speak it, we can comprehend it, but when it's time to write it, it's like we're kind of stuck there. But this gives you that opportunity to polish that.
And not only that, I'm so happy you are talking about languages, because it's true, we write the magazine mainly in Spanish, but we have a section to teach ESL to our community. So it's not only saying, you only speak Spanish, just stay there. No, we are trying to, inspire the community to study ESL. And for this purpose, the Archcanon Foundation and the St. Paul's Church, that has a big ESL program, they joined forces and they decided to put this section on the magazine. Every month we have all these pages on our magazine devoted to teach ESL.
I don't know, though, we have only a short limited time here,
yes.
But can you tell us a little bit about the new initiatives the magazine has and how you're playing your expertise in mental health and counseling is involved with the magazine?
Thank you, Yesenia. Really quick, we, besides printing more magazines, we are, as I said, doing events with the community. One of them is para el Día del Niño, the Day of children, especially the Mexican community celebrates Day of the Children on April 30th, and we are doing an event the Sunday before. I don't remember the day, but the Sunday before April 30th, because our community works from Monday to Saturday. And we are expecting more than 300 people, and especially we have invited some families that have children with disabilities.
Okay.
And what we get from that event, we will give for a nonprofit that works with children with disabilities. So we are very happy about that. And this is an effort we're doing with Nancy Lemus, who has a child, Chris, with a disability, and she has been doing this, she joined forces with us to make it happen now.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Ronaldo, for your time. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for coming out, and I will stay in touch and see how the magazine progresses, but
Yes.
congratulations on all your success.
Thank you. DelHispano.com, DEL Hispano.com, if anyone wants to get in contact with us.
And we didn't get to touch bases, but on that website you'll be able to see the television series he did on the educational channel as well.
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you for
Yesenia.
your time.
Hasta pronto.
We will return after these short messages.
Los niños pueden pasar 8 minutos decorando a su hermano pequeño.
Cepillarse 2 minutos puede salvar a tus hijos de sufrir un dolor severo. 2 minutos, 2 veces al día. Ellos tienen tiempo.
Kids will spend 8 minutes decorating their little brother.
Brushing for 2 minutes now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes, twice a day. They have the time.
The construction industry is the second deadliest in the United States, and unfortunately, the Latino construction workers are twice as likely to get injured on the job due to language barriers and a whole bunch of other things. I have here with us Brian Legum, who's going to tell us about the Latinos and immigrants who actually have rights to workers' compensation. Can you tell us about your interest in the Latino community? Brian speaks Spanish. He's fluent in Spanish, speaks it very well. But can you tell us about your interest and why did you learn Spanish and wanted to reach out to the Hispanic community?
Gracias por todo. And I guess I'll speak in both Spanish and English.
Sure.
You know, I was born into a family that didn't speak any Spanish. Grew up in South Florida. My father was in the nursery business, so growing up over the weekends, instead of playing at home, I'd often go to his farms, and a lot of the people who worked there were from Spanish-speaking countries such as Mexico or Dominican Republic. So I had an opportunity to get introduced to the language. So when I had the opportunity to pick a language in school to study, I obviously picked to speak Spanish and continue that education all the way through college, where I majored actually in Spanish language and Spanish literature.
¿Por qué está interesado en ayudando a la comunidad latina?
Bueno, tengo un gran interés ayudando a la comunidad latina, especialmente los trabajadores que tienen un orgullo tan fuerte a hacer un trabajo bueno, pero la comunidad latina no conocen los derechos que tienen, especialmente cuando son lesionados en el trabajo, y ellos tienen miedo de hacer algo porque no sepan que tiene derechos. Y yo he visto esto, y no hay muchas personas que hablan español que son abogados, y por eso tengo una oportunidad de educar la comunidad latina.
Can you tell us what are some of the services that you provide for those in the Latino community and the community as a whole here in Delaware?
So I work for firm Kimmel Carter, Roman Peltz and O'Neill, and we focus specifically on workers' compensation, so people who are injured while they're working, and other personal injuries such as personal injury auto. Actually, that's solely what we do, those two facets of personal injury. So, and the majority of my practice within the firm is working with Hispanic individuals who've gotten injured on the job and educating them on their rights and making sure they get the benefits that they're entitled to.
¿Y puede decir en español qué tipos de servicios ofrece a la comunidad hispana?
Bueno, pues los servicios, bueno, siempre las consultas que puedo dar a la comunidad son gratis, pues si son confidencial completamente, pues cualquier cosa que vamos a discutir por teléfono o en persona, cara a cara, es confidencial. Y yo puedo ofrecer a estas personas un resumen de los derechos que pueden recibir si son lesionados en el trabajo y, bueno, informarles si hay un caso y beneficios que pueden recibir abajo de las reglas del Estado.
And for our immigrants, we were talking about that fear. There's that language barrier, those that come here undocumented and are working for these construction companies and end up getting hurt on the job. They tend to not seek help or know of their rights. So can you explain to us some of the rights that they do have?
So the rights that someone's entitled to under workers' compensation if they're injured in the course and scope of their employment are quite numerous, such as medical expenses related to their injuries, payment of wages because they're taken out of work for as a result of their injuries, and compensation for any type of permanent impairment. Now, those rights are completely separate and distinct and have no real direct relationship to any type of issues that they might potentially have as it relates to immigration. So it's important when I meet with my clients that I explain to them that obviously everything that we talk about is confidential, but if they do happen to have an immigration issue, I make sure that we communicate with an immigration lawyer if it's an issue that presents itself. But the community should know that they can come and speak to an attorney and learn about what their rights are and not be worried that initiating that conversation is going to have any effect on, their status as a documented or undocumented person.
Right. ¿Y en español puede explicar los derechos que la persona tiene?
Bueno, una persona que es lesionado en el trabajo, tiene un derecho a recibir gastos médicos pagados 100%, que son relacionados al accidente y los daños del accidente. Y también la persona tiene unos derechos a recibir compensación por ingreso perdido, un porcentaje. Y hay otros beneficios y depende de la situación, si aplica o no. Y por eso es importante que cada persona obtiene una consulta con un abogado para explicar estos beneficios, porque no hay no está perdiendo nada, no hay ningún riesgo a obtener esta información.
And Brian, a big one is car accidents. Sometimes you have Spanish-speaking only residents or undocumented citizens who get into a car accident and have that fear right away. Oh my God, police is coming. We have to document this. What are some things that you can say should one get into a car accident? What are some rights that they have? What not to be afraid of?
So, for people who obviously, if you get into a car accident, my recommendation is obviously if you're hurt in any extent, you should definitely seek the medical attention and not be adverse to going to the hospital if you're hurt. And my also advice is to make sure that when you go and you get treatment, to be honest with the medical providers and keep track of the treatment that you receive. Take pictures if you're able to, and seek help. Seek legal help if it is important to you, because you can there's no cost to doing that, and it's important that you seek information and know your rights, and then you can make an educated decision if you want to pursue any type of legal action.
¿Y puedes repetirlo en español?
Sí, claro que sí. Pues es importante si has tenido un accidente en un coche, es importante que sepa la información y los derechos que puede recibir. Pero primero es importante que obtenga, tratamiento médico y que cuando está recibiendo tratamiento, que está honesta con el doctor y las preguntas y por qué ha ocurrido ese accidente. De vez en cuando la comunidad hispana tiene nervios a contar una historia válida, de lo que ha pasado en un accidente, porque tiene miedo. Y finalmente es importante que obtenga, una consulta, y no hay ningún gasto para obtener una consulta y obtener información sobre los beneficios que puede obtener, y con esa información puede hacer una decisión informada.
Wonderful. Gracias para toda esa información.
Muchísimas gracias de tener la oportunidad de estar aquí.
De nada. Thank you, Brian. On behalf of all of us here at WITN 22, I'm Yesenia Taveras. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.